Okay, I'm on this corner of Springside and Osborne Street, site of the soon-to-be beautiful Dunkin Donuts complex. And I'm standing here with Common Council member Lynn Taborsak, who's running for 3rd Ward, and candidate Jim Kelly, who's also running for 3rd Ward. I'm actually also standing here with a resident from the Springside area who want to talk about the Dunkin Donuts complex and everything you people in the neighborhood went through to try to stop this, and what Joe Cavo did or did not do in terms of helping you guys out. So let me talk to you first, Lynn. Why don't you tell me a little bit about this complex and the history of this area?
Well, this is a travesty. Obviously, the neighbors got together and fought the application of Mr. Batista to put a full-scale, large Dunkin Donuts here, and they won. They took it to the zoning commission and presented all of their arguments, their safety concerns, the traffic concerns, the fact that this is a walking route to Broadview Middle School, the fact that there's a firehouse a half a block away where you're going to have emergency vehicles entering and leaving, and they won. And it was a great victory for us. We celebrated here. But then what happened is Mr. Batista came back. He changed the design of the Dunkin Donuts to a drive-through so that a public hearing wouldn't be necessary in order for it to be approved. And the Planning Commission subsequently approved it. And that's a travesty. This neighborhood has been kicked under the bus by the city of Danbury. We shouldn't be here fighting this drive-through Dunkin Donuts. It's a horrible location. It's a residential neighborhood. It's a travesty.
I'd like to talk to one of the residents who I met during the days when you guys were fighting at City Hall. Why don't you tell me about some of the concerns you have about this particular Dunkin Donuts being here?
Well, the major concern I have is I have now a 13-year-old son. At the time we were fighting, and he was 11. And him and his friends walk by here to go to Broadview. And he plays in the road, which has always been safe, ride his bike up and down the street as other neighborhood children do. And the traffic that this building was bringing in was, by their statements, 500 additional cars onto Springside Avenue, which now, if it has 30 car trips a day, just residents who live here, just was outrageous to me. So I was mostly concerned for the safety of my son and his friends who play in this neighborhood and the other neighborhood children. But it's just, I live diagonally across the street. I am worried about the noise. This neighborhood is quiet on Sundays, very quiet. I was worried. Dunkin Donuts is open 7 days a week. They were saying in their proposal 6 in the morning till 9 at night, but I was very doubtful that it wouldn't be 24 hours or at least 11 at night. There's 4 other Dunkin Donuts within a 2-mile radius. I just didn't feel a need that we had to have another Dunkin Donuts so Mr. Batista can make more money at my expense and the safety of my child. And that's exactly what's my concerns.
We're expecting Colin Pierce to be run over by a coffee-starved crazed driver here on Springside Avenue. And that's not right.
I'm sure you went to the meetings also. I'm sure in your walking and knocking on doors, you heard a lot about this particular development here. Why don't you give me some feedback that you received from some residents about this particular Dunkin Donuts, the creation of it?
Let me just discuss something that happened about 3 years ago when I was on the council. There was a proposal of that building there to turn it into a halfway house for recovering alcoholics. It was going to be 20 apartments. They were breaking it up, and I'd gotten word on zoning. Went to a zoning meeting, and there was nobody there. And I'm thinking, well, the people on Springside have got to know that this is what's being proposed. So I went and I just made up a bunch of cards, went to everybody's mailbox, and let them know that it's being proposed that the alcoholic treatment center was going to be here, not treatment center, but the halfway house, and it's in town hall. Well, we ended up with 200. We ended up with 200 residents, and all of a sudden the zoning commissioners found fault with the application, toilets, I recall, and that was the end of it. When you have participation of the residents, it works. In this case, it just didn't work because
there was an end run.
There was an end run.
Change in the plans. It fell below what's required for public input.
2 cars.
2 cars.
It was
2 cars.
500 to 498. He went.
It's ridiculous.
So he won't be coming here for coffee, I guess.
But we did door knock this neighborhood. People are pissed off, and they have a right to say, we didn't see Joe Cavo and Mike Colandrino at the Planning Commission
They were not there.
meetings. We didn't hear them speaking up for us and defending our right to have a quiet residential neighborhood. And I honestly think they probably couldn't find Springside Avenue. The only direction they seem to go is to City Hall and to the 3rd floor.
That's something I want to bring up also. What type of feedback did you get from your present common council members? Did you hear anything from them in terms of, I'm sure some residents must have went to them and expressed their concerns. Did they give you any type of feedback whatsoever?
Unfortunately, I did not contact them. I was in the majority of the contact with Lynn Taborsak. I didn't specifically speak with them, but I know that if Lynn knew and other members of the Common Council knew, they must have known about this. I assume that. I guess I shouldn't.
So, where do we stand at now? We see that this Dunkin Donuts is going to be created, as I understand, because it was 2 cars less than the 500-car limit. They were allowed to get this thing in here. What do you want to say to the residents who are going through similar problems like this in other neighborhoods where you got irresponsible development, or if developers want to bring in businesses? Is it important for the people to come out and speak out against these things?
Definitely important. Get your voice out there that you're against it. Get it on public record. So if it ever comes back to, you didn't fight it, you didn't try, that city didn't know about it, it won't be true. Definitely, the process does work. Unfortunately, Mr. Batista had another alternative, which I understand because of this. The Common Council has come up with any drive-through now will have to go through zoning no matter how many cars.
Springside Avenue has saved other Danbury neighborhoods from any other drive-through being located in their neighborhood, because there was such an outrage over the fact that only 2 fewer cars would allow them to build the facility here, that the Planning Commission actually came up with an exception. If you want to drive through now in Danbury, anywhere in Danbury, on any street, you're going to have to go to a public hearing.
And that was due to
the
Democrats on the Common Council, I'm told. It was not, that's who brought it up. When they heard about this travesty, they said, wait, this should not happen to another neighborhood. The Democrats on the Common Council.
So this whole entire thing was done by the Democrats? This wasn't done by Cavo on his own ward?
No, he was not part of it.
So, you two guys, since you guys are both running for 3rd Ward, how would you represent the 3rd Ward and represent the residents to stand up against things such as this? How would you do your job differently than Joe Cavo or Colandrino?
Well, in the case of the 3 years ago, I was neutral. I was personally neutral as to how that building should be used. I felt sympathy for halfway house, for alcoholic treatment that are out in the job market. I felt sympathetic. I knew the council, the alcoholic council, but that's not what my job is. My job was to inform all the neighbors that this is happening. What do you think should happen? What is in the best interest of you folks in the neighborhood? And that's what happened. I wasn't for or against it, but I wasn't going to just let it go.
I think the other thing, Al, is that both Jim and I have a long history of being involved in this community. So that, for instance, we can go back 20 years to the development of Lansdale Estates, and that was something I got involved in and spoke out against. But we have a problem with overdevelopment in Danbury. Shrinking amounts of land are available, so that we had a development proposed for Great Plain Road, Savannah Hills, that I went and spoke against at the EIC meeting. And that proposal was rejected. But we have to be vigilant. We have to protect these wonderful neighborhoods from overdevelopment, because if there's a dime to be made, this mayor's going to let it happen. And we need people on the council who don't feel that way.
You're saying you're the best people for the job to make sure that thing won't happen, I guess.
Clearly.
If
the
you
best people
if
for
you
the
want a
job.
Dunkin' Donuts on every corner, vote for Joe Cavo.
Yeah, yeah. And if you want these, have you been on the west side? See, if you go down Sawmill Road or Exit 1, and to see the buildings that are going in, they look like Bronx apartment buildings. They're condos, 4 stories tall. You can see them through the trees. I don't know how they even allowed that to happen.
Well, thank goodness you guys are going to be around, and hopefully you guys will prevail on election night, so things like this won't happen again. I know as a resident of the 3rd Ward, I was down there fighting with you guys, and I'm still pissed off, to say the least, that this thing is even happening. It's outrageous, and I wish you guys all the best. Thank you for all your time, and good luck.
Thank you for what
Thank you.
All right.
Thank you.